All right, what's going on, guys? It's Blake from GKL Plus, formerly known as Green Knuckles Lacrosse, but obviously a lot has changed since the last time I've touched this camera, specifically this one. It's been a while. We've been gone for a very long time, and we got a lot of explaining to do. There's a lot of things I need to cover in this video, so I need to just get right into it. When I first started this channel, I started as a freshman in college. And at the time, I was living, eating, and sleeping lacrosse. It was my full-time job, essentially my career, being a college lacrosse player. I could do this as much as I wanted to do. I had free reins, didn't have a lot of priorities in life, but as you get older, I know my older crowd can really relate to this. My younger guys, you'll eventually be able to understand where I'm coming from with this. But life hits you, and you gotta change gears and do other things in life, and you can no longer do the things that you were once able to do. And unfortunately, this YouTube channel was one of those things. So I'm not gonna get too deep into it as to why I was gone. There's some good news and bad news. I'll start with bad news. Bad news is we're back, but we're not back to what we were doing in the past. Obviously, we changed our name, we've rebranded ourselves. We're no longer doing entertainment content, GoPro videos, stringing videos, head reviews. All the stuff we've done in the past is staying in the past. We're no longer in that kind of niche of what we used to do. I've seen a lot of guys now doing it, and that's awesome, that's great. You know, we're kind of handing that torch off to them, letting them do what we used to do. It's awesome, and we are now shifting gears into a new avenue and a new perspective in the lacrosse community, and we are going forward as GKL Plus. So, hate to break it to you guys, but don't get your hopes up. We're not coming back with what we used to do. We're not really doing much content to begin with. We are providing something else to still stay involved in the face-off world, because that's really why we started this channel, was to just grow face-offs. Not just the sport of lacrosse itself, but to be more specific, to help grow the face-off position, to keep it relevant, to express the importance of having the face-off in lacrosse. Because I know that I never would have been going to college or doing anything lacrosse related. Heck, I mean, I was a former football player, so lacrosse was not something that I really looked at as a fun sport to play, but ended up playing lacrosse, and I fell in love with it, and I fell in love with face-off. So the face-off never existed. I don't know where I'd be. Definitely wouldn't have been going to college, that's for sure. So the bad news is we're not coming back, but we are still trying to be relevant, and that is why I'm in front of this camera now, to introduce the good news that we're coming back as GKL Plus, but we are coming back with a product. Finally, a product. I know over the past 3 years, there hasn't been much going on as far as new products, content, stuff along those lines. It's been pretty, you know, the same head comes out with a new version every year. There's been a handful of heads that have released since my absence, but nothing crazy has gone on. Aside from the rule change, we all know that was a bummer, but that's just how it is. We got to roll the punches, keep moving forward. So I'm in front of this camera today to let you guys know that GKL Plus is a sports technology company, and we are planning on branching out into other sports, but we figured we'd stick to our roots and start with the sport of lacrosse, specifically face-offs. We, as former face-off guys, we know the importance of taking face-offs and how important training is to better yourself as a face-off athlete, and how there's a huge lack of technology involved in the position. So we figured we'd capitalize on that and provide some sort of technology to the face-off world to help better the position and the athlete playing the position. We just started doing the soft launch to our product leading up to now. Once this video drops, our product will be available. But the soft launch, if you haven't picked up by now, it is an app, a mobile app that you can use through your phone. So before I continue on in this video, because we do have a lot to cover, I need to make sure that it's very well established that we are not coming back. It's unfortunate. I'm sorry to get your guys' hopes up that some of you thought we were coming back to pick up where we left off, but we're not. That's not our thing. We encourage others to do what we were doing. It's really awesome. I had a great time doing it, and it just helps grow the face-off position and just make the community better. So if anybody is not afraid to get in front of the camera, I know it's scary, but I definitely recommend doing it and voicing your opinion. I mean, go ahead. It's the more brains involved in face-offs, the better. So continue to help grow the community by, you know, throwing in your 2 cents. So moving on, GKL Plus, we have released an app. By the time we get this video out, we've created an app over the past 3 years, I want to say. So during our absence, we weren't just sitting around, we were putting together this app because we assumed, like your career comes to an end as a lacrosse player in college, and that's when GKL kind of died. Hunter and I stopped playing college lacrosse. It was no longer our job at that point, and we had to move on to bigger and better things. But we didn't want to leave the community empty-handed. We wanted to provide something that would still allow us to stay involved, but would really benefit the face-off athlete themselves. Instead of just watching videos and providing pure entertainment or even merchandise like we used to do, we wanted to provide a physical product that would improve your face-offs. And so I'll touch on that later on in this video, but for now, GKL Plus has released an app called GKL Plus React. And in a nutshell, it essentially uses your phone to capture and track your reaction time as a face-off athlete. Why do we choose to use reaction time as our focal point for the app? Well, if you've been around in the face-off world for as long as we have, or even back when face-offs first started, or when the FOGO position really grew and gained a lot of attention, the number one asked question out of every question is, how do I get faster at face-offs, which essentially means, how do I improve my reaction time? I figured out how to do my exits, I figured out how to clamp, I figured out how to do counters, I figured out how to be an athlete after the face-off, but the one thing I'm still struggling with is, how do I improve my reaction time? It's a very difficult subject to tackle. It really is, because there's no other sports that face-off athletes can cross-reference. There's nothing that happens as fast as a face-off does that has that much emphasis on reaction time. Sure, we can compare track or swimming. Those are only two other sports that I can think of top of my head that involves reacting to an audio signal, but they have distance to make up for with a bad reaction time. The face-off itself happens within fractions of a second, and every fraction of a second adds up. So if you have a really bad reaction time, face-off it's not gone forever. Like, you're not gonna lose face-offs. You still have an opportunity to make up for a lost clamp, right? That's the whole point of gaining possession. But your life is going to be a lot easier as a face-off guy if you can dominate the X with really good reaction time. That's the number one attribute every good face-off guy has, is a really fast reaction time. I'm not saying you can't win a face-off without fast reaction time. That's a part of being an athlete. You don't have to just clamp or swipe or just react faster than your opponent. You could be an athlete and outwork him to gain possession in the long run. But as a face-off athlete, that's what separates us from any other position on the field. No one's saying an attackman, a midi, or even a D-midi can come take a face-off, right? They're going to lose against an average face-off guy because he's got good reaction time. He might lose in the athletic department, but if we have good reaction time, it makes the athletic department a lot easier to handle because we are in the driver's seat of that ball. We can gain possession a lot faster when it's in the back of our stick already. So, with that being said, reaction time is the number one attribute that all face-off guys must have and must be super dominant at. They need to be fast. That's what makes us awesome. That's what makes our position unique. And that's why it's so hard to train it, because it happens so fast that there's no real way of figuring out what's right and what's wrong. It's been a guessing game leading up until this point. I'll get into the guessing part right after this, but how do we train for reaction time? What are the current solutions to fix our issue of having a slow reaction time? We have two solutions that we throw at it. One is to work with a professional coach who's been there and done that, right? He's going to teach you the proper techniques to make sure that you are facing off correctly. And what that means is you're pretty much getting rid of all wasted movement. So you're not moving here before your hands do, because in a face-off, your reaction time is the time from when your ears hear the whistle and your brain decides to move your plastic, okay? So we can eliminate all the wasted movement from here to here. That's going to give us a faster reaction time, and that's the point of a coach, and that's the point of filming yourself and watching your technique to make sure you're as efficient as possible, which will theoretically increase your reaction time. The other way is, once you've gotten rid of all your wasted movement and your mechanics are dialed in from a professional coach, you then have to practice those mechanics for hours on end, repetition on repetition, to the point where it becomes muscle memory. Muscle memory is essentially actions without thought. If you have no thinking going into facing off, you're going to be faster. That's what causes people to slow down, is if you're thinking about 100 different things and you're trying to hear a whistle, you're going to be slow. So if you can clear your brain by developing muscle memory, you're going to react faster to the ball. And even with these solutions, working with a professional coach, filming yourself, making sure your mechanics are proper, that's a huge emphasis. They have to be right mechanics. but you also have to practice them to develop muscle memory. They're still a guessing game. The guessing game is what's really frustrating because there is no numerical value put into a face-off. If you were to stand on the side of a road and you have a friend drive a car right by you, okay? That car has no speedometer and you have no radar gun to tell how fast that car is going. We know ahead of time he's going 50 miles an hour, but you and the driver have no idea, okay? Let's then send that car again a second time, and we know that car is going 52 miles an hour, okay? Your friend and you still have no idea how fast they're going. I want you to be able to tell the difference if that car is going faster or not that second time around. It's going to be impossible. It's going to look the exact same. And to make that even worse, in the face-off position, we react like that. So if you can tell the difference between one face-off and another, when it's on such a micro scale, that's not humanly possible. It's just not. It's way too fast. It's not like a car driving by. The biggest frustration was trying to put a baseline to our face-offs. And the way you put a baseline to anything is by putting a numerical value to it, right? Tell me how fast I reacted to that whistle. I make a change to my mechanics, or I work with a coach, or I film study, I try something different. Now give me a second value to that face-off. Let me know if I improved, I slowed down, or I stayed the same. That was our biggest frustration. It's not that we have a limited source of knowledge, right? We have the internet, we have thousands of guys who've been there and done that, tons of pros you can work with, right? But there's still no numerical value to any technique or anything involved in face-offs, specifically the reaction time. So that is our solution. We are essentially providing a tool to put numbers into each face-off repetition. I know that's a lot, and it's going to be hard to explain right now until I show you the app and then how you use it. It's all going to make sense. But the best analogy I can give you, aside from the car driving by, right? Have fun telling the difference between those two speeds. It's the same thing with a 40-yard dash in the NFL. You have a guy run 40 yards. At the combines, don't they have lasers? Don't they have a stopwatch? Those tools tell you how fast those guys have traveled those 40 yards, right? And when they train for the 40-yard dash, they're not just changing their technique, having the guy run the 40-yard dash again 4 weeks later and go, oh yeah, that looks faster, right? They have a stopwatch. They have a laser system to have a base reference. They train for 4 weeks, they run it again, and then based off those two numbers, they can tell if they've improved, slowed down, or stayed the same. That's exactly what we're doing with our app, is we're just putting numbers to face-offs. That's all it is. In a nutshell, that's all it is. It's a stopwatch for face-offs. Now, the cool part is how we integrate it into your own cell phone. There's a couple reasons why we did an app approach. The main reason is we wanted a one-stop shop. We wanted to make sure that there was no additional equipment needed for our device or our product to say. We didn't want to have to develop something that the athlete would have to carry in addition to his stuff he's already carrying out to the field. As face-off guys, we're carrying like 4 to 5 sticks, right? And then on top of that, we got all of our head spacers, our softballs. It's really neat stuff, and I'm going to get into that in this video. But we decided to create this app because it was so frustrating to put in all this time and effort to increase your reaction time without truly knowing you were getting better until you went and played against some guy in a game. And even then, it still wasn't concrete evidence that you were getting better, right? Maybe you had a better day than that guy. Maybe he had a better day than you did, right? But until we put numbers on each repetition, we don't know if we're getting better or not. So that's why we made the app. And now I'm gonna get into how the app works, the features it has, and how to use it. Strap in for this one because it's gonna be a lot of info thrown at you at once. And I'm gonna be getting active here soon. I'm gonna show you guys on the turf how to use it. But for now, brief overview. GKL Plus React is a mobile app that you are able to download from the Apple Store as well as the Android/Google Play Store. So the two main app store platforms, you will be able to download this app. I have an iPhone for reference, so that's what I'll be demonstrating the app on. At first, you'll be able to download the app. It'll take you to your profile page. It's gonna look different than what I have now because I'm already registered in. I've had this app for a very long time. I had to make sure it was perfect before we released it to the public. So there's gonna be a couple of minor things that are different as a new user versus once you've already logged in. Nothing crazy. It's gonna be pretty self-explanatory. So what you're gonna have is your profile page. It's gonna ask you to create an account. It's gonna need a email, a username, and a password. That's kind of all you need. On our page, once I zoom in here, focus, it's going to ask for your name, your school, your grade level, age. That's all going to make sense in a later version of the app. It's not super essential now. You can fill it out if you want. I don't have it filled out and the app still works for me. It says I'm 14 years old. You don't need to have it filled out, but in the future you're going to want to fill that out. So after you've created a profile, it'll then take you to the plans and pricing page, which looks just like this. If I'll focus in, okay? And then once you're here, you're gonna have your option of picking your subscription. It's a subscription-based app. It's gonna be either a monthly subscription or an annual subscription, depending on what you choose. The monthly subscription is gonna be $9.99 per month, and the annual subscription is gonna be $99.99 per year. Again, that's $9.99 a month, or $99.99 per year. You have a 3-day free trial for both plans, whichever one you decide to choose. You can always do the 1 month, try it for a month. If you don't like it after a month, cancel at any time. Annually, you're gonna save more money, and it's still cheaper than the average price of a face-off hit. That's kind of what we referenced for the pricing of the app. So yeah, once you have your pricing set up, you will then be brought to the setup page right here, which is the second from the bottom. So down here you have like your icons, you have your profile. It'll take you right to the setup page. So now this is what's going to allow you to set up the sessions that you're going to be training in. So on this page, you have two variables. You have your time to down in seconds, and then you have your amount of reps. So time to down is a little hard to explain. I'm still gonna cover it. But the amount of reps is obviously the amount you're gonna take per session. We designed the app to be a one-touch feature, meaning once you're all set up and ready to go, you touch it one time and then you're able to carry out your training session until it's over. We know that you're gonna be facing off with gloves on, and the fact of you having to go back and touch the phone every time in between reps was something that we didn't want to have included. So we figured you press it once, it runs through the repetitions, it ends, and it lets you know. So that's what that means, amount of reps. If you want to train for 5 reps, you change it to 5. You want to train for 15, change it to 15. It's up to you how long you want to train for. The time to down is where it gets a little confusing, but once I demonstrate it on the turf, it's gonna make so much more sense. But time down is that. So in between each rep, you're gonna have a set time to be able to get back in your position and be ready. You set that ahead of time. If you're doing repetitions that involve quick clamps, which we don't recommend you hammering this app with just clamps. We want you practicing your exits. But if you are gonna do quick clamps, you wanna change this time to down to probably like 2 or 3 seconds. 2 seconds. So if you're doing quick reps where you're just clamping and setting the ball back up, you don't need it to have a 10-second pause in between reps, right? You can set it to 2 seconds. You clamp, put the ball down, you're ready to go within 2 seconds. For the reps that we recommend that involve you taking 2 or 3 hard steps after each desired clamp, swipe, whatever you're doing, you're gonna wanna increase this time closer to 10 seconds. You're gonna be brought to this page before every session to make sure that your variables are set leading into it so you don't have to mess around with it. So this screen, your timer setup is all ready to go. You're ready to train. You're now gonna press that green bar below the numbers that says start timer or set timer. You click it.
Total reps equals 3.
I had it set to 3 reps for this session. It's gonna audibly tell me I have 3 reps for the session set. It's also gonna pop up with an alert that I will cover later, but this alert says GKL React is highly sensitive equipment. Please reduce the amount of shadows within the circle as much as possible. That's not a suggestion, that is mandatory at this point, and I'll explain later. But you will then be brought to the bread and butter of this app. This is what makes our app so unique and really cool. It's camera based. That's how the app detects your reaction time. This is where it gets really cool, and I'm really excited to share this with you guys. So on this page, you'll have where it says at the top, it says reaction timer. You see the light flashing, that's the camera ready to detect. And then you have your numerical value, and then you come down and you have this red circle right here. That is your area of detection. And then I'm trying to show you guys the rest of this. I know the background's horrible. But then down here, you have a green button that says start. Going through the steps, you have your phone ready, you position your phone, you then press start, and then your session begins. That red circle is your area of detection. The best way I can describe this is if you've ever seen a James Bond movie or whatever those assassin movies are, where they're walking through that room that has a bunch of lasers shooting all over the place, but they're steady lasers, and if at any point they make contact with that laser, it either causes harm or it sets off an alert. It's just like your garage door too. If you guys have automatic garages, at each corner of the door you'll have two lasers shooting at each other, and if anything breaks that plane, it will prevent the door from closing down. This red circle is telling you where to put that ball and where to position the phone in relation to the laser that is shooting out of the camera. So if you have your camera set up here, this is our laser, there's your front camera, you're gonna have this shooting off the camera. And then the end of this laser is going to stop at the front side of the lacrosse ball. It's pretty cool stuff. And where do you position that ball? You line it up with the circle on your camera. That's all it is. It's a reference point, and it's also an area of detection. So once you understand this laser beam concept coming off the camera, it's gonna make way more sense. Afterwards, after you get done with your session, it'll then take you to your statistics page. And that was another issue that Hunter and I had leading up to this app being released, was we had access to this app and various bits and pieces. We started out with just having a whistle, and then we started out with the camera feature, and then we got to this page where it's your statistics page that actually keeps log of every face-off you've taken through the app. It gives you a numerical value per rep. It tells you your fastest, slowest, and average per session. It gives you a daily average. It gives you a weekly average, a monthly average, and an annual average. It's really cool stuff. It's super layered. There's a lot of moving parts in the statistics page. A word of advice, don't get too over analytical with the statistics page, because that's going to cause a whole lot of problems as far as your mechanics go. You will be presented with your statistics per session, and it's really cool. But going back to what Hunter and I had access to, was we just had the camera feature, and it would tell us out loud what we got, but there was no actual way of recording it. So Hunter and I, like if he was taking reps on the phone, I would sit behind the camera with a notepad and would write down each rep. And when you do 100 a day, it gets pretty annoying. Per person, it gets really annoying. We had a whole book of like all of these numbers that we were doing, and it was really neat, but we figured that's another feature to throw into this app, so you don't have to sit there and write it down and keep track. The app does it for you. So that's the app as far as a super broad and quick explanation of what it does. I hope that explains a good amount of what I'm about to show you guys. It's gonna make a lot more sense, and it's gonna get way more detailed now. So I'm gonna go ahead and set this up on the turf, get you guys moved over, and we'll start taking reps. Let's go. All right, new angle here, and this is the only way I can really show the floor and everything else that's involved. I'm in a really small area right now too, so bear with me and don't mind the clutter. But I'm gonna do my best to show you guys how this app works, right? We've already talked about what it does. Now let's show you some real reps. This app is not intended to be used with another opponent, right? This is strictly for an individual face-off athlete. This is also meant to be used not only in practice when you're going against yourself, air reps, but it's also meant to be used when you're on your own training. If you train outside of your practice hours, you're gonna get better, okay? That's not really a secret, that's the truth. And if you're not doing that already, you probably should. And I would use this in my dorm room, in my apartment all the time. There's only 2 hours a day you're spending practicing on the lacrosse field. What are you doing for the other 22 hours, right? You need to take those hours that you still have in the rest of the day and work on your craft. And now you're able to do that and make sure you're doing it properly, because you're getting a numerical value for your reps. As you can see, I'm in a garage. You can train and use this app outside, which is totally fine, but if you guys know already, if you use an app in direct sunlight or just your phone, it's either gonna freaking cook up and explode, or you're not gonna be able to see the screen. The glare. We're down here in Florida, it's always sunny. Whenever we were using this out in the sun, it was very hard to actually see what's going on. It still worked, but you just couldn't really see that well. So those times that I'm in the house, I'm in my room, I'm in a garage like this, I can control the lighting variable. Okay, I can turn the light switch on, I can turn it off. Two things for that. One, I can see what's going on, and two, it controls the shadows. We already have a warning in the app saying that the shadows are really a trigger point for this app. The app doesn't know it's a shadow, it sees it as a foreign object. Crazy, right? So you need to eliminate shadows from anything involved with the phone, the ball, with how you're set up. Anything on that laser wire that's coming out of the camera, there can't be any shadows near that. The only requirement that we require to use this app, other than your equipment, is something to prop the phone up against so that it doesn't move during the session. In our case, we have a roll of tape. Every face-off guy has got a roll of tape. That's how we're going to position our phone to make sure that this session works effectively. I'm going to find where I want to face off. We're avoiding shadows. We're avoiding a lot of exterior movement. We want to be in an area where we can hear the phone as well. You can use a Bluetooth speaker or headphones if you want. I did a couple of times and it was consistent, but it was slower than if I didn't have the headphones or the speaker. There's something about a Bluetooth connection where it slows down the timer, and it'll take like a full half second slower for you to react. Not because you are reacting that way, it's just because when the phone signals it to the Bluetooth, there's something going on in there and it slows down. So we avoid using speakers or headphones. Try to be in an area where it's nice and quiet. So you have your midline, you have your equipment to position the phone and anchor it. You can use a glove if you want. You can use your helmet, another lacrosse ball, another stick is perfect. Just put something there to position your phone. So you have your setup ready. Okay? We're gonna do this multiple times. We're gonna press set timer.
Total reps equals 5.
It's gonna tell you have 5 reps, okay? Total reps equals 5. That's for this session. It then gives you the alert reminding you, avoid shadows, because it will trigger it, and that's gonna mess some stuff up, but it's not that big of a deal. You press OK. You're then brought to your screen where you have your red circle and your start button. You're going to notice that the red circle is going to be closer to one side of your phone. You want that side to be on the ground. In our case, if you have an iPhone, the volume controls, that's going to be the side on the ground. You want this positioned horizontally. Your circle is going to be closer to the ground. It's going to help keep that area of detection lower to the ground. So volume buttons sideways on the ground. I'm then going to position my phone against that roll of tape. We're down here now so I can better explain how to set this up, okay? You have your area of where you want to face off at. You have very little shadows. It's not super loud. You can be able to hear all the commands and the scores, the numbers you get per rep. The other thing that's really going to save you a lot of time and a lot of messing around, especially when it's super bright out too, you can't see your phone screen, is you want to find an area that has some sort of marking for you so you know where to put your ball every time after each rep. That's going to be very easy to find on a turf field. You can go in the corner of the field, right? You see I have a perfect corner here. This is just going to allow you to know where to put this ball every time so that it's then a controlled variable, so you're not having to look at the phone screen and try to line it up every time, right? You know where the ball goes because this is exactly where it needs to go every time, and the phone is set up perfectly to track your reaction time based off of where this ball is at. Okay? Making sense? Now, obviously, if you don't have access to a turf field or you're on grass, you can spray paint, you can put something on the ground, a piece of tape on your carpet is totally fine. If you put a piece of tape down, you know that the ball needs to go there every time because you've already set up your phone based off of where this should be. Hopefully that's making sense. But at this current position, I might need to move my phone a little bit. And so here I am now. I'll get closer up on this. But from this perspective, this gives a good idea of how far away the ball should be from the phone. You want to make sure you're close to the phone, right? But not super close. Because if this phone's here, while you're clamping, you're going to hit the phone every time. You don't want to do that. You want to have a good enough distance to where you're able to face off. See here? You're able to face off, but you're also able to shrink down that distance of this laser so it becomes more effective in that case. So I have a good foot, maybe just over a foot away between the phone and the ball. That's all you need, okay? And then another thing to note, when you're here, that red circle needs to be inside the lacrosse ball. I'll show you again when I get up closer, but there's gonna be that red circle, and this ball needs to be lined up so where that red circle is inside the ball. It needs to be significantly smaller than the ball itself. let's bring you in close to show you what I'm talking about. All right, so here we are. You can see me through the phone, which is really cool. Interesting view. But this is how your screen should look. You need to have the ball positioned on a spot that you've already pre-marked to help save time. But the ball needs to be way bigger than the red detection circle. We do this to help eliminate the background movement from interfering with your actual reaction time. So it needs to be that much smaller. You can get closer if you want. See how that circle technically gets smaller on the ball, but in this case, you're running that risk of hitting the phone during your rep. So keep that good foot away. So there's our ball. That's how we're positioned on our midline. We have our reference point, and there is our area of detection. This is how our screen is going to look the entire session. Okay, we're going to press that start button when we're ready, and we're going to practice. So now that I've actually showed how to set up the app and how to position yourself to use the app properly, I'm just going to run through a couple of live reps on how you're supposed to use the app. But before I get to that, I need to talk about how the laser works and how the cadence works as far as the internal timer goes. I'm just covering everything so there's as little confusion as possible. So once you're ready to take your rep and you press start, you have everything positioned. The app itself will then go through your typical referee cadence. It'll say down, it will say set, and then after set, a whistle will blow randomly. It's not gonna be the same cadence every time, which is what we did on purpose. So at random, the whistle will blow. Once that whistle sounds, the phone itself will start an internal timer. And that internal timer will stop once you break that laser beam, right? The one coming off the camera to the ball. Once you go through that laser beam, it will stop the internal timer and give you your reaction time. Pretty simple stuff, right? It's cool, but simple, but confusing. So I had to explain that first. So now we're gonna put all the pieces together. I showed you guys how to set up the app, the ideal environment to be in when using the app, something with controlled lighting, indoors. You don't want to be too noisy because then you're not going to be able to hear it as good. Something with not as many moving parts in the background. An area where you can easily identify where to put the ball in relation to the phone so you're not having to guess around and constantly check at the phone to make sure it's in the right spot. And also show you how it works. So now we're going to run through the entire thing together, show you how to put it up and take reps with it and how to actually use it properly. So this is how we recommend using the app. We recommend practicing full repetitions. That means don't sit here and crank out 100 clamps and just do clamps alone. Do 100 clamps, but with a good 2 to 3 hard steps afterwards, practicing your exits. That's one of the worst things you can do as a face-off guy, is you can be really good at the clamp and smoke people off the freaking whistle, right? But then not know what to do afterwards, and that's how you lose possession. You're in the driver's seat, and then you're pretty much just jumping out of the car and saying, yep, it's up to my wings to help get this ball for me. You need to work on your exits. And that's how you're going to train with this app, is you're not only going to do your clamps or your swipes, you're going to do your exits with it. And that's why we have that variable at the very beginning for time to down. It's going to give you time to get out of your exit, retrieve your ball, and come back and set up so you don't have to miss the next rep. For this example, how we recommend you actually training with the app, we're going to set our time to down to 10 seconds. And then for the repetition count, just for the sake of video, we're going to do 5 reps. So that's exactly what we have here. We have our variable set. We're then going to press set timer. Takes you here.
Total reps equals 5.
I know you can't see that well. You're going to see it when you get the app. It's going to tell you out loud, you have 5 reps selected. It's going to pop up that alert to remind you to avoid shadows. So now I'm in my general area of where I know I'm going to be facing off at. I have my corner, aka where I'm going to be putting this ball at every time. So I'm not having to fiddle around with it, look at the screen to make sure that it's covering that red circle. It's going to be there every time, okay? I then make sure that my phone's adjusted so where that red circle is smaller than the ball and is a good foot away from the ball itself. So I have my distance here. I know where my ball is going to be. At this point, I am ready to start my training session. I'm going to press start, and then from that point on, I don't have to touch the phone at all. It will carry out my 5 reps I selected ahead of time, and then it'll tell me at the very end that I'm done with my session. So from here on out, I'm pressing it one time, putting my glove on, and facing off. I now have 10 seconds to put my glove on and then line up on my ball. Alright, react. I pull the ball out. Obviously I can't go too far in this garage. Put my ball back on my spot, and I have 10 seconds to get ready.
Down. Set. 0.361 seconds. Rep 3.
Every rep, it will say out loud what I got as far as reaction time. And again, I have 10 seconds to get ready.
Down. Set.
Between the legs, I go pick it up. I come back over here, set it up on my spot. 10 seconds.
Down. Set. 0.095 seconds. Rep 5.
It says rep 5. I know it's my last one because I put in 5 reps ahead of time.
Down. Set. 0.311.
I swipe. I'm able to go get my ball if needed. But at the very end of the session, this message will pop up. It says reps completed. You then press OK, and it will take you directly to the statistics page for today's training sessions. Collectively today, I've already taken multiple sessions today for the sake of doing this video. Today I spent a total of just over 7 minutes training. I think that's 38 reps, I can't really tell from here. And then it gives me my fastest, slowest, and average over those times. You're gonna be able to see your reactions from every rep you've taken, right? For that session, I took 5 reps. It tells me the time for each one of those 5 reps. I scroll down before that. I had another session earlier today. It tells me those numbers, so on and so forth. That's just for today. If I go to the 7-day graph, I'm able to see that I trained 3 times this week, and it gives you a graph. The difference with this graph and any other graph is the higher the bars, that doesn't mean you're doing too well. You want to keep these bars short, right? If we have a higher number, that means we're reacting slower. We want these bars to be as close to 0 as possible. That means we're reacting super fast. Just like the 1-day page, you will have a summary of your 7 days. Right there. It gives you a total time, reps, fastest, slowest, and average. You're then able to scroll down. In my case, I only trained 3 times this week, to those 3 days that you trained. From there, let's just go back to Tuesday of November 28th. I click on that one, and it gives me the exact numbers from that exact training session. Right? Pretty straightforward. Next, you have your 4-week or your 1-month graph. And out of this 4 weeks, I only trained 4 times. I know, I don't face off anymore. It gives me a visual of my reaction time. Remember, the shorter the better. And then I'm able to see those 4 training sessions over a 4-week period. I can then click on, let's go to Thursday, November 23rd. I can then click on that number, or that date, sorry, and it gives me the summary for that day, as well as each number for each rep of each session that I took for that day. And the very last page here is our 1-year annual report, and this is where the bread and butter really is as far as your statistics go. We're looking for a long time progression of getting better. Same exact concept. You guys are gonna be able to interact with this. There's a lot of layers to the stats page, but we did that on purpose because not only do we want to track your reaction time, we want to keep log of it as well to make sure we're putting that numerical value to each one of your repetitions to make sure you're doing the right thing over time. I'm gonna do a quick close-up of how the screen looks when you're facing off so you can see from that perspective, but that's about it. That's the app, and it's pretty exciting stuff. So let's go ahead and wrap this video up. All right, so here's that close-up perspective. I'm gonna show you guys what it looks like. Same way that we recommend training with this thing. We're gonna press start and do a quick little 5-rep session.
Rep 1.
I have 10 seconds to get ready. And hopefully I don't hit this camera. It's right next to the ball.
Down. Set. 0.302 seconds. Rep 2.
10 seconds. I'm purposely going to hold this one now to show you that I don't trigger the app or the sensor until I break it.
Set. 2.068 seconds. Rep 3. Down. Set. 0.279 seconds. Rep 4.
I know where to put this ball every time because I have it pre-marked.
Down.
See if I go back over
Set.
here.
0.29 seconds. Rep 5.
Rep 5, here we go. I'm gonna swipe on this one.
Down. Set. 0.321 seconds. Reps complete.
There we go. I don't know if you guys caught that third rep, which was an actual clamp from me. I got 0.279 seconds. And there's the proof. That third rep, because I did that long delayed one on rep 2, 2 seconds, and that third one, I can start fire with these freaking hands, boy. If you can beat that, let me know. So that's it. That's GKL Plus React. I think I covered everything about it. How to get it, how to set it up, the ideal environment, how to use it, how to train with it, what kind of stuff you can do with it, how to track your progress over time. The one thing I would highly recommend doing with this app is having a friend, coach, a teammate, or a tripod, or a parent, or whoever can, you know, record yourself while you're doing the rep. I've already spoken to multiple people about using some sort of filming for the app, and I think that's an awesome idea to do. I was doing that for the longest time. Whenever I would record myself from a third person's view, I could see my technique associated with the number I'm getting, right? So if I saw an issue in my technique on film, I then know, hey, it gave me a 0.4 second reaction time, right? I'm then gonna change my technique to get rid of that wasted movement. Let's just say it was like an elbow kick, or like my elbow would kick before my hands would go. I would then fix that, practice that to get rid of it on camera, and then when it came time for me to feel comfortable to try it out on the app, I would then set up the app while recording myself and making sure that I'm no longer doing that wasted movement and that there is a time associated with that new technique or that new mechanic, thus proving that it works and helps increase my reaction time. So that was how I recommend using the app. Use it with more than just a clamp. Use your swipes, practice your exits with the app. Don't sit there and hone in on the whistles. You have the ability to do that. If you just want to hear whistles and just want to play around with something minor, you can set that time to down closer to 3, 2, or even 1 second if you want. So where you can clamp, it'll tell you your time, the ball's still there, you're ready to line back up immediately. So very little time wasted there while you're using the app, but we recommend cranking that time up in between each rep as high as you can. That'll give you enough time to exit after the clamp or after the swipe, retrieve the ball, come back, set it down, catch your breath, and be ready to go for the next rep. Once again, this app will be available. Once this video is released, it will be available on the 2 major platforms, iPhone, Android. You're going to be able to download it right from the store. And the reason why we're doing this video first is because I knew it was going to be confusing for new users. It's easy for me to understand this app because I created it, but I've also been using it for a very long time. I need to explain how to use it, and now you guys should be pretty good, just to help limit the confusion and all the future questions I'm going to have. If there's any issues with the app as far as downloading it from the store, as far as any bugs or anything going wrong that you're not satisfied with the app, let us know as soon as possible. Go on our website, gklplus.com. Contact us at help@gklplus.com. We'll get all your problems situated. If there's any problems, just let us know. There's already one guy who he was able to download the app on the App Store, and we thought that we had access to it only, like a private release, but somehow he was able to get access to it, and he downloaded the app before it was finished, so it didn't work for him, and then he gave us a 1-star review, which it's whatever, but we're gonna fix that issue with him. So if for some reason you go to download the app and it's not letting you download it, then let us know. We'll fix that. Again, it's an app. There's going to have bugs. It's going to have issues. It's not going to be 100% perfect, but we will do our best to make sure that it works on a consistent basis and that you are satisfied with our product. So with that being said, go ahead and download it as soon as you want. Don't be afraid to send us some content of you using it, share some information with us, spread it around, do whatever you gotta do with it, whatever makes you feel happy. We urge that you continue to work with teammates, professional coaches, other coaches, by yourself, film. That's one thing that helped us out a lot, was we just filmed ourselves and made sure we were doing the right things. And we talked to a lot of professional coaches who know what they're talking about. We made sure that whatever they were telling us, we fed into our techniques and our philosophies as well. So we're not trying to shy you guys away from doing anything out of the ordinary that you've already been doing. We're just asking that you take the app and use it as a supplemental tool to make sure that your training is effective and you're getting better. Any questions, comments, or concerns about GKL Plus React or about GKL Plus, go ahead and fire them our way. Look forward to hearing from you guys about the app. I'm excited for you guys to try it. Just give us all the honest feedback you can, the more the better, and share some content with us. We'll be more than happy to repost it and spread around the community. So yeah, that's it. I haven't closed the video in a very long time, so it's not get them dirty anymore, but go ahead and leave in the comments if you want. But it's innovate to dominate now, because we are GKL Plus and we're here to innovate the face-off position so that you can continue to dominate the X. Yep, that's it. All right, see you guys.